Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free the wretched refuse of your teeming shore.
That thing travels 67 yards.
Get much more American than football. You really don't need to know all the rules to enjoy the colour and excitement of it, especially the annual championship game, the Super Bowl, an end-of-season extravaganza which is 2 parts sport to 1 part Hollywood. But as well as being a great spectacle, football's also a great game played by some of the best athletes in the world. And the more you understand, the better time you'll have watching. We're going to take you through the basics now, starting with the field it's played on. An American football field can be indoors or out, grass or artificial turf, but it must be 100 yards long and 53 wide. It's marked every 5 yards by full-width lines, and every yard by what are called hash marks. Now these may not look like much, but they're vital in measuring the progress of the ball. Tacked onto either end of the field was a 10-yard end zone, usually painted in the home team's colours, where each side tries to get the ball to score. There's a set of goalposts at each end too, through which they can also put points on the board. Each team breaks down into 3 separate self-contained units. There's the offence, which tries to move the ball downfield to score. A defence, whose job it is to line up and stop them. And special teams, who come on in certain key situations and get straight off again. So although 45 players per team can kit up, only 11 from each side are allowed on the field at any one time. Substitutions are unlimited though, and not always for tactical reasons. In a contact sport, sometimes a man just needs a breather.
Let's just kick that butt all day long!
The offence can move the ball down the field toward the end zone in 2 ways. By passing it forward to certain players to catch, or by running with it. And that leads us on to scoring, which happens the same way. This is the signal for a touchdown, but don't be confused by the name. The ball doesn't actually need to be touched down at all. As long as it's carried over the goal line into the end zone, or caught there, it's worth 6 points. Then the scoring team has a choice. The easy option is to kick the ball through the post from a short distance out for 1 extra point. But they can also gamble for 2 by trying to get back into the end zone with a pass or run. In certain situations, usually when a team's attempts to score a touchdown have ground to a halt, it'll opt to kick a field goal instead. Not as valuable as the touchdown, it's worth 3 points. The ball is teed up on the kicking team's 30-yard line, and they spread out either side of their kicker. The receiving team lines up with a kick-off return man deep in his own territory, ready to catch the ball and run it back up the field. The kicker's teammates head downfield as soon as the ball's kicked to try to tackle the returner and stop him. His teammates are there to protect him and help him upfield as far as possible. Wherever he's stopped is the point where his team will start the job of trying to score. So obviously the further the returner gets, the easier it is for his teammates on offense. Now here's all that theory in glorious NFL colour. The team in white, the Kansas City Chiefs, are being kicked to by the Buffalo Bills in blue. The ball's kicked deep, but the Chiefs return man catches it and runs it back out to the 26-yard line. Here's another example, with the Miami Dolphins in white kicking off and the Minnesota Vikings in purple running the ball back, this time to the 29-yard line. That's where the Vikings offense will start trying to score from, and it's called the line of scrimmage. The offense now gets 4 goes, called downs, to move the ball at least 10 yards. If they succeed, they get another 4 and so on. If they fail, they have to give up possession to the other team. So the Vikings are on the 29-yard line, and it's their first attempt to move 10 yards to the 39, which is known as a 1st and 10. The thing to remember here is that American football doesn't flow, it happens in a series of set pieces, short, sharp bursts of skill and violence, with time to regroup in between.
First down, Minnesota at the 29. Terry Allen, yard, maybe 2.
In fact, it was only a yard, leaving the Vikings on the second of their 4 downs with 9 yards to go, or 2nd and 9.
Gain of only a yard for Allen, 2nd down and 9. Counter, Allen, that's the same play that he broke into the open on in the last series. He got it out to the 35-yard line and still be 3rd down and 4.
So after 2 runs, the Vikings need at least 4 yards to keep going, and on 3rd down, they decide to pass.
Moon rolls on 3rd down, throws complete. Chris Carter, the veteran, out to the 43-yard line.
So the Vikings get 4 more yards than the minimum they needed, making the new line of scrimmage the 43, but they start again with another 1st and 10. It's not always smooth forward progress though. Here the team playing left to right has a 1st and 10 on the 24-yard line. But look what happens. They actually lose ground when their runner gets tackled 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, leaving them needing 12 yards for a 1st down. All right, let's look at some of the key players on offense now, starting with the quarterback. The quarterback is the leader, playmaker and all-round superstar on the team. He's the man who outlines each play to the rest of his teammates, then tries to make sure it happens the way it's supposed to. On a pre-arranged signal at the line of scrimmage, the player in front of him thrusts the ball back through his legs to the quarterback, and then you'll usually see him attempt one of 3 things. The most straightforward option is to hand the ball off to a running back and let him try to make the yardage. Alternatively, he can pass it downfield to a receiver beyond the line of scrimmage. This is riskier, but offers the chance of a bigger gain. Finally, he can keep the ball himself, although since quarterbacks are the game's most highly prized players, coaches usually prefer them to get rid of the ball before the defense gets rid of them. The wide receiver is exactly that. Positioned out toward the sideline, his job is to get forward to where he knows the quarterback will be throwing the ball and catch it when he gets there. These are the speed merchants on the team, world-class sprinters, some of them, who can be 40 yards downfield in a little over 4 seconds. But speed alone isn't enough. They need to run precise routes to be in exactly the right place when the ball arrives. When they are, the results can be spectacular. Lined up behind the quarterback will be 1 or 2 running backs. As you'd expect, their primary job is to take the ball and run with it, regardless of who gets in their way. These guys come in a range of models, from the 18-stone bulldozer with one forward gear and no steering, to the compact runabout, which is more manoeuvrable in heavy traffic. These players who handle the ball are called skill players. The players who handle the opposition are called the offensive line. Or sir, if you should ever meet any of them. There are 5 men on the line, a centre in the middle who snaps the ball back to the quarterback, 2 guards and 2 tackles. But they all do essentially the same thing. On running plays, they act like battering rams, opening up holes in the opposition ranks for the running back to pick his way through. When the quarterback drops back to pass, though, they become bodyguards, forming a protective pocket around him to keep the defence at bay, and buying enough time for the receivers to get downfield and make the catch. There is one player we haven't mentioned so far, because he has a bit of an identity crisis. And let's face it, with a title like tight end, it's hard to blame him. This dual-purpose player has to be big enough to serve as an extra blocker, but agile enough to break out and catch passes too. A good aggressive defence can win the ball back for its team and even score itself in a number of ways.
All we gotta do is play physical, man. Let's go, let's go!
First, by intercepting passes meant for the other team's receivers. Or by forcing offensive players to fumble, that is, drop the ball and recovering it themselves. Fumble recoveries and interceptions are called turnovers, and both can be run back into the opposition end zone for touchdowns. Those are the plays defences dream about, though. Their every down responsibility is simply to stop the offence from making enough progress to get a first down. Defences can line up in different ways, but here's the basic look, starting up front with the defensive line, 2 tackles and 2 ends. These are the trench troops fighting it out with their offensive counterparts in an attempt to stop the running back or get to the quarterback if it's a passing play. At anything up to 22 stone, these are intimidating figures. What's more intimidating is the speed they can shift all that weight at once they get a victim in their sights. At the other end of the evolutionary scale, not to mention the locker room scales from the massive linemen, are the defensive backs, the main defenders against the pass. The cornerbacks are possibly the most exposed players on defence. They line up against the opposing team's receivers, often one-on-one, then try to match them for speed. The cornerback's basic job is to stop the receiver doing his. Of course, if they can do his job better, they become receivers themselves. An interception can turn defence into offence into a touchdown in seconds flat. Safeties are harder hitting characters with a more roving role to read the play and react to it. In between the line up front and the defensive backs is a hybrid group, the linebackers, and these give the defence its flexibility.
Pass! Pass! Run! What's the run?
Depending on how they read the intentions of the offence, they can do a number of things, all of them violently. They can drop back to help against the pass, push up to stop the run, or launch an attack on the quarterback. When everyone goes after the quarterback, it's called a blitz, the biggest defensive play of the lot, and it can produce the biggest reward, the quarterback sack. Capturing the leader of the offense in his own territory before he can offload the ball has a number of advantages for the defense. At the very least, it means a loss of yardage for the opposition, It can cause the loss of the ball, or in extreme cases, the loss of the quarterback himself. By the way, a sack in the end zone is the final way the defence can score. It's called a safety, and it's worth 2 points. So say the defence does its job and stops the offence from gaining 10 yards on 3 of its 4 downs. What happens on 4th down? Well, there are basically 3 options, 2 of them involving special teams. If a team is close enough, it'll attempt to kick a field goal. On comes a kicker, a holder, and 9 linemen to protect them while they perform what can look like a simple operation. In fact, it's a small miracle of timing. From the lineman who snaps the ball back to the holder, who sometimes has to work to get it in position for the kicker, who's already started swinging at where he expects the ball to be. Now factor in 11 big fast rushers steaming in to try to block the kick, and it starts to look anything but routine. If a team's too far out to kick a field goal, the punting unit will come on instead. The punter's job is to get the ball downfield, just like on the kickoff, so that the opposition takes over possession as far away from his team's end zone as possible. He tries to kick it high so that it hangs in the air too, giving his blockers time to get downfield themselves to cover the punt returner. Of course, he's trying to get it back upfield. When the returner wins the contest, the result is one of the most exciting plays in football, the touchdown return. When the coverage team wins, it's exciting for different reasons. The final option facing a team on 4th down is simply to let the offence go for it, especially if they're only inches short of the 10 yards they need. This can be risky though, because failure means the opposition gets the ball back at the spot where the 4th down play stops.
Smith gets the carry, he doesn't make it. What in the heck is going on?
So you won't see a 4th down play that often, especially if a team's in its own half. That's why good special teams players are so important.
If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here and try to run this play in the alley.
Coaches are responsible for drawing up team strategy, but these days they have more sophisticated communication tools at their disposal than just chalk and a blackboard.
Let's go, 81X curl switch.
A play call usually starts up in the stands with a senior assistant coach who radios it down to the sideline. From there it's signalled into the quarterback either the old-fashioned way by hand signals or direct to a tiny receiver inside his helmet. And the quarterback then relays the play to the rest of the offence.
Ray, Pat!
If he sees something he doesn't like or spots a chink in the defensive formation though, he might change the play at the line. This is called making an audible. On the sideline, coaches on offence and defence use photographs to break down each play and diagram boards so they can explain how they want it done next time. If a play goes wrong, a call upstairs might be necessary.
What happened?
Technology though isn't always best.
Wake up! You're looking at me like I'm not even talking. You're not hearing me. Get your ass in gear.
Now, you look inside.
You can't rush inside?
Look inside.
You can't get any heat inside?
Look inside.
That's all I need to know. We'll put someone else in there and get some heat inside. This is a
Go, Nick, roll.
60-minute ball game. A 60-minute ball game. You've got to keep pounding the whole 60 minutes.
Well, as you might have gathered there, a game of football is 60 minutes of total playing time, which breaks down into 2 halves and 4 15-minute quarters. With the clock continually starting and stopping between plays, though, the whole proceedings usually manage to last somewhere around the 3-hour mark. Each team also has 3 timeouts, which can stop the clock without interrupting the excitement. That's because coaches often save them for the end of the game to give themselves one last chance to win. The result is some incredible finishes, with the outcome of games hinging on last-second heaves into the end zone, like this one. If there's one thing Americans hate, it's a draw. So if the game is tied after 4 quarters, it goes into an extra quarter of sudden death overtime, with the first team to score the winner. Only if no one does, is the game declared a draw. The one thing guaranteed to stop a game dead is a dropped hanky, the sign that one of the 7 game officials has spotted a breach of the rules. And although these may be hard to spot on your own at first, the head man, the referee, obligingly broadcast them to help you out.
False start, number 88, offense.
Pass interference, number 37 of the defense.
Holding, 80.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 25.
Talking of unsportsmanlike conduct, the refs often get closer to the action than they'd really like to. Be warned, just watching football can be a contact sport. Alright, that's it for rules and strategy. Time for a look at the league's 30 teams and where they play. Although if you know anything about American geography, forget it for the next few minutes. Football teams can be based in the east of the country and play in a central division, or based in the west and play in the east. They have a habit of moving too. The Raiders, for example, were originally from Oakland, moved to LA, and now they're back where they started. So bear all that in mind as we look at the structure of the NFL. The league is split into 2 conferences, the National Football Conference, or NFC, and the American Football Conference, the AFC. Each conference is then split into 3 divisions, the East, Central and West, although as I say, don't take those names literally. Each team plays 16 games spread over 17 weeks, and at the end of what the Americans call the regular season, 12 teams go forward into the playoffs, 3 division winners, the 3 teams with the next best records in each conference. From then on, it becomes a knockout competition until the champions of the AFC and the champions of the NFC meet in the final game of the season, the Super Bowl, for the right to claim the Vince Lombardi Trophy. The current holders of that trophy are the Dallas Cowboys, who play in the NFC East. Their rivals are the Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Redskins, the New York Giants, one of 2 New York teams in the league, and the Arizona Cardinals. The NFC Central Division is made up of the Green Bay Packers, the Detroit Lions, the Chicago Bears, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Finally in the NFC is the West, which contains the San Francisco 49ers, the Atlanta Falcons, St. Louis Rams, the Carolina Panthers, and the New Orleans Saints. Over in the AFC, the Eastern Division is home to the Buffalo Bills, the Indianapolis Colts, the Miami Dolphins, the New England Patriots, and New York's other team, the Jets. In the Central, there's a new team this year, or at least a new name. Remember we were talking about teams moving cities? Well, this off-season, the Cleveland Browns moved to Baltimore and became the Ravens. So the makeup of the AFC Central now looks like this: Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Houston Oilers, the Baltimore Ravens we were talking about, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Finally, there's the AFC West, home of the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Diego Chargers, the Seattle Seahawks, the Denver Broncos, and the Oakland Raiders. And that's about it. Now that you know enough to follow the season through until the next Super Bowl, leave you with shots of Dallas beating Pittsburgh in the last one.